All right, welcome everybody to today's workshop that we put together at Local First Arizona on how to leverage your localness as a local business in Arizona. My name is Thomas Barr. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Local First. And just a couple of housekeeping things. If you would like to ask a question, there is the Q&A box that you should have on your screen. Feel free to send any questions at any time and I will see them. I'll either answer them live or wait until the end. You also have time at the end to submit questions too. So jot things down if they come to mind. Today is a session that I love to present on. It is really the essence of why Local First Arizona exists and why we do what we do. And it's all about helping small businesses think creatively about how you're positioned in the economy and how you can market yourselves to grow more clients, grow more customers, tell your story, get your name out there, do things the way large companies can't do. And I think I'll start with that is that, there's a lot of inequities that we talk about all the times with small businesses and competition with large companies. But one of the things that they can never take away from you is your story and actually being a locally owned business. They can never do that. And so what we talk about today is examples of those things. I give a lot of creative examples and ideas. Hopefully it just gets the juices flowing and ideas pumping out of your mind and helps you think differently about how you might talk about your business to others and what other small businesses or local businesses you might want to work with. And so I always launch the session by talking about how Local First Arizona got started and why the nature of being a locally owned business is so unique and so important, regardless the type of business that you are. And Local First was started back in 2003 by our founder and now CEO, Kimber Lanning. She comes from an entrepreneurial background herself. Her father was a jazz musician. Her mother owned art galleries her entire life. Her brothers are entrepreneurs. And she opened up a small art gallery and music venue in what is now known as Roosevelt Row in downtown Phoenix back in the late 90s. After also starting her entrepreneurial journey when she was 19 years old and opened up a record store called Stinkweeds, which is now on Central Camelback. It's one of the few independent record stores that are still around, and it's been around for about 36 years. And so the story of Local First is that, Kimber opened up Modified Arts. She had Stinkweeds, and she had a lot of young people coming in and out of these establishments and telling her, hey, Kimber, when are you going to leave Arizona? When are you going to leave this place behind and come out to Austin, Portland, Chicago, whatever it is, what have you? And she started to get a little annoyed, what was wrong? What was so wrong with Arizona? And so in 1999, she took a gamble on this small art gallery in downtown Phoenix to really put some energy into helping independent musicians that were coming through Arizona have a place to play when they came through Phoenix. It's called the Modified Arts. Back then, Roosevelt Row was not like it is at all. She says, there were only two other businesses on that street, a hubcap shop and a liquor store. And she couldn't even get pizza delivered to the neighborhood at the time. And so what happened was she opened up her gallery, and then a friend a few years later opened up a gallery, a restaurant opened up. They started participating and doing things for First Fridays, which back then was, maybe a couple hundred people coming together for some wine and some music. And it continued to evolve and it continued to grow. And, you go to Roosevelt Row as it is known today, and it's a completely different place. Over the years, there was so much arts and culture and music and history that was told through that neighborhood. You get off the light rail on Central and Roosevelt, there's a sign that says Arts District. USA Today ranked Roosevelt Row one of the top 10 art districts in the entire country several years ago. They really built a connection to place through all of the locally owned businesses working together. And so these numbers here that I show you on this slide here are a little older, but you kind of get the picture. They had restaurants, art galleries, retailers, bars and music venues blossom and grow and thrive together. And that wasn't because each business was in a silo, right? It grew and it thrived because all of the businesses were actually collaborating together telling their story together and getting people to think about the connectedness that you would have when you come to this place, when you come to this neighborhood. And so it's really important, regardless of where you're geographically placed as a business, to forge those relationships with other locally owned independent businesses around you and ensure that people are connecting to where you are and where you do business as a connected entity. Roosevelt Row didn't have that name in 1999. It does now. The locally owned businesses that link arms and work together are what are the back of what we always hear is the backbone of the economy. And so Local First is kind of started on that notion, is that if we could take this idea of small businesses working together in a small neighborhood and expand that to the entire state, if every small business in Arizona was connected together and could do business together, we'd have a really strong, robust economy. And that was part of why Local First Arizona started, was to connect people to place. And we know that you connect people to place through locally owned businesses. I think we've all know somebody from Chicago. There might be somebody from Chicago on the call today even. We like to talk about, when you ask somebody from Chicago, why are you so proud of that place? They'll talk your ear off all day long because they are so proud of it, right? So, we think about Arizona and we say, why don't people feel about this place the same way people might feel about Chicago? Why do we have a lower than average voter turnout here? Lower than average volunteer rate in Arizona even? Why, when the Cubs come to town from Chicago, do we have more Chicago fans than Arizona Diamondback fans at Chase Field, right? And so when we think about great places and what connects people to them, it's really the locally owned businesses that does it. You can't tell me that Chicago's a great place because the Chicago Cubs have been a great baseball team for 100 years, right? They lost baseball for 100 years before ever winning a World Series, but they still sold out Wrigley Field every single time. And so that's really the nature of why we do what we do at Local First, is to help all of you as locally owned businesses connect with more people, so people feel more connected to where they live. They'll give charitably if they do. They'll vote if they do, right? It creates a better environment for everyone that's here. So today's purpose is to help you elevate that and leverage that more so that we can build a stronger community. And I want to kind of transition to telling you a story about a business that we know. And one of the really, really, really incredible things that they did to drive a high level of customer service to a customer that came through their store once. And I tell you the story because of how prevalent it is and how important it is in today's world that local businesses over deliver. And so years ago, we were giving a presentation in a small town, and we were talking about the benefits of local economies and building strong local economies. And there was a woman that attended. She was really motivated, came up to us afterwards and said, you've helped me change how I think about how I spend my money. She goes back home and she says, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to support my hometown grocer. So she just needed the basics: eggs, milk, bread. And she goes to a small grocer in her small town that she lived in. She walks in and the place is just a mess. She can't find anybody to get help from. There's nobody at the checkout line. There's lines. She can't even find what she's looking for. It's just it's just a really bad experience. She's there for 15 minutes, can't get what she needs, and gets fed up and ends up leaving and going home. When she gets home, she looks up the business, finds the manager's email, and sends an email and says, hey, I just want you to know, I really wanted to come in and support you, but I just had the worst experience. All I needed was the basics. There was nobody to help me. There was long lines, etc. And sends the email off thinking, I'm never going to visit this business again. A few hours later, she gets a knock on her door. Who is it but the manager of that store, with a bag with all of the items that she said that she was coming into the store to purchase. Talks to the woman and says, this one's on us. I'm so sorry. When you came in earlier, we had 3 people call out. It was we had a shipment coming in. I was in the back. It was a really, really just unique time that you came in, and I'm so sorry that you had that experience. If you would, please give us another chance and come back so that we can try to over deliver for you. I always get chills running down my spine when I tell that story, because rather than losing a customer forever, that business won a customer for life, right? Take all my money, right? Now that woman is going to go back and back and back to that grocery store. She's going to tell all of her friends what a great experience she had based off of a poor experience being turned around. And I tell that story because that is the level of service that every small business needs to deliver on. You have to over deliver in today's economy in order to not just be in business, but stay in business and thrive as a small business. You've got a lot working against you all the time, but if you were to think about all of the things that are in your control, the number one thing that you can control is how you treat people. And by over delivering to the people that want to do business with you, that want to spend money with you, you are providing an experience that the larger businesses can never, absolutely never compete with, right? We like to think of kind of the economy right now as operating in two realms and two spheres. On one side, you have the side of convenience, right? And same day shipping, Amazon Prime type of a mindset. I just want my item now. But in this other large bucket, you have people that want good experiences. And it's up to you as small businesses to figure out how to deliver that to them. So this is a common thing that we see all the time, right? When you buy from a mom or pop business, you're not helping a CEO buy a third vacation home. You're helping a little girl get a dance lesson, a little boy get his team jersey, etc. You're investing in a business that's in our community, that's investing back into the community. I always like to give the example when I walk into my bagel shop down the street. I look behind the counter every time I go, and I see plaques of T-ball teams, throughout the years that the bagel shop has supported. This is a really important thing for you as a small business and a locally owned business to do. Not just to support your community. I'm sure all of you are supporting your community in one way or another, but people want to know about it, right? People connect to those feelings, those good feelings and the good nature of the things that small businesses do. When we're watching TV, we'll see advertisements from large companies telling us, how much they invested in this, how much they're doing that. We get the ads on Facebook. We see, the marketing behind what all these companies are doing. But really, that marketing can be done on a grassroots level from what you're specifically doing in the community to help those around you. Make sure that you're reminding your customers that you are a person in their neighborhood, in their community that's continuously giving back and doing great things. And I'll give some examples of ways that you can do that here later in the presentation. But I would even make a list, write down every community organization, nonprofit, school, youth sports team, club, whatever it is that you've given back to or supported. People want to know about it, and it's okay for you as a business to tell people about it. I want to hear about it, right? If I'm going to spend, $20 on dinner or lunch or whatever it is, I want it to go to a business owner that is contributing to the community, right? I want to know who that person is, and I want to know that they care about the same things that I care about. So, we see kind of these messages and these things all the time. I see them on A-frames. Some businesses will put them on A-frames outside of their business, but it's really important that you do it. It's important that you follow through on it. So I want to kind of go into now some examples of different ways that you can be thinking about collaborating with other businesses around you. And I'm going to talk about two different ways right off the bat. One is collaborating with businesses that have similar demographics as you do in customers or clients. And then I want to get into collaborating with businesses that might have a similar regional presence as you do. And so both you might take some things from or not, but just to kind of spark some thoughts of how you might position your business. So the first I'm going to focus on is demographic collaborations. And I'm going to give an example here of two businesses that have a similar type of customer. And that is Duck and Decanter, which is a family-owned sandwich shop. They've had several locations around Greater Phoenix over the years. Right now, their location is on 16th Street in Camelback, where they've been for a very long time. And then the second is Changing Hands Bookstore, launched in Tempe, Arizona. They now have the Phoenix and the Tempe location. And the example I want to give is when both of these businesses were experiencing an opportunity and a challenge at the same time. The opportunity that they had was that they were both actually celebrating anniversaries at the same time. I believe one was celebrating their 40th and one their 50th anniversary. The challenge that they were both having was very different. At the time, Duck and Decanter, excuse me, Duck and Decanter Sandwich Shop was trying to feature more Arizona wines, and it was just not fitting with their customers. Their customers were not willing to pay a little extra for an Arizona wine or try something different, and so they were really having a hard time to sell them. Changing Hands Bookstore was, for a brief time, seeing a decline in their author, in the attendance for their author readings and their author signings. And so we sat down with both of them and we said, let's think creatively about how we might work together, being that you have the same type of customer and clientele that would come to either of your establishments. So first of all, let's pull your marketing together. If you're celebrating a 40th year anniversary and you a 50th, let's connect these dots, right? If the same person that's going to go into a Duck and Decanter would go into a Changing Hands bookstore, if they see those two businesses buying out an ad together side by side, it's more likely that they're going to think favorably about the business that they're less familiar with, right? And be more willing to go check them out. And so it's important for you to think about that in your advertising efforts or your marketing efforts, however you do them. But the more important component of it was that we said, okay, if Changing Hands is having a little bit of an issue getting people out to their author readings, let's create a unique event and let's host it in the courtyard of Duck and Decanter. And then Duck and Decanter, when we bring these people to you, because Changing Hands is hosting a special event, only feature Arizona wines so that the people coming have an opportunity to taste and to try the types of products that you're having trouble selling. And it solved all of the problems that they were having. All of a sudden, Changing Hands saw an increase in people coming to their author signings, and Duck and Decanter saw Arizona wines flying off the shelves. And so this is just an example of a creative way that two businesses thought together, came together, tried to address their challenges and their opportunities with the same mindset, and realized after 40 or 50 years, hey, we've got a lot in common. Let's come up with a solution to help us address both of these things at the same time. So again, just one example, but again, put down a piece of paper, make a list. What are the businesses that you'd love to work with that not necessarily are competitors to you, but have the same type of client, the same type of customer that you could be thinking about collaborating with? The second example that I want to give is of regional collaborations. And this is for you to think about if you have a brick and mortar store or you do pop-ups or in-person things in the community, to think about what other businesses and how you might collaborate with the other businesses that are around you. So the regional collaboration example I want to give is focused on Medlock Plaza, which is in Central Phoenix. This is a plaza that did not used to have a name and had many different businesses that were operating in it. On this graphic here, you see on the left, a candy shop to a Japanese robot shop, a record store, a women's clothing boutique, and a piercing shop all the way at the end. Right there before the piercing shop, you also have a place selling records. And so what we want to talk about here is how these businesses faced a lot of construction. We're coming up on the holidays and said, how do we get people to come out here, being that we're all very different, right? A lot of the times you see businesses that have a lot in common collaborating. These were businesses that need to think about how they could collaborate just based off of the pure fact that they were in the same plaza together. So what they did is their plaza actually didn't have a name at the time. And so they named it. They called it Medlock Plaza. And then what they did is they pulled all of their resources and their ad dollars together. And they said, let's hire a local artist and let's create a graphic that kind of paints a positive picture of our storefront in like a Main Street way, right? This is really colorful. It kind of tells a story of the center. It has some Arizona feelings to it with the palm trees in the background, right? It looks really, really positive. If you drive by at 40 miles an hour, this isn't exactly how it's going to look like though. But when you see this, you're like, wow, this looks like a place I'd really love to visit. Then what they did is they took this art graphic and this ad, and they bought ads in some local publications. And on the top, they said unique gifts, 6 different ways. Much like how you might think about how people go to a mall, right? When people go to a mall, they know all the stores are different, but they're going to find different things, and they might bring the whole family, and you're looking at different things. They wanted to attract, people that had different interests and had different priorities for shopping for the holidays, and remind people that there's actually a variety of ways that you can shop for people if you just come to their plaza. And so one prime example here, this is really great opportunity that we really recommend thinking about, because I see so many businesses in different plazas and different centers throughout the valley that don't take advantage of the fact that they're right next to each other, right? You might see some things happen, like maybe you'll walk into a store and they've got a coupon to the store next door. All great stuff. But think about, outside the box. How can you get more creative with the businesses that are right next to you? Moving on from here, just have some kind of quick things that we always recommend thinking about in leveraging your localness as a business. These are things that we see businesses do well, but we also see a lot of companies not do it all. Remember to put your place a local logo on your website, on your business cards, on your printing materials. It should be everywhere. People want to support locally owned businesses. We know this. Surveys show it. The Local First website gets thousands of directory searches a month. People are looking for you. Make sure they know that you're local. You should train your teams. Every time somebody purchases something from you, or if you're sending a receipt to a business, have something that says thank you for supporting a locally owned business. Even if you're a coffee shop, have your barista say thank you for supporting a locally owned business. It reminds the customer where their money is going. It creates a connection from the customer to your staff and to your team and to your business. And it resonates every single time, and you feel good about it. Even if it's $5 that you're spending, you feel better as a customer, and that keeps that customer coming back and reminding them to support you. The other that's important is figure out what your non-local competition is doing. This is one I always stress. I'll give an example of this in just a minute. Use local statistics to close sales. Look in the business journal, look in different publications, what's going on in the region that you could use for your benefit to showcase that supporting local businesses is really important right now. And then the 2 here, at the bottom, just to remember, is always be telling your story, always be thinking like a team, whether that's internally or with the other businesses in your plaza. So what is non-local competition doing? Why is this so important? This is so important because, again, the non-locals cannot do what you as a local businesses can. Everything you bring every day, they cannot compete with. The example that I give is a Starbucks location, right? Everybody's probably been to a Starbucks. If you haven't, you've got family that go there or whoever it is. And what do we always hear about Starbucks? The one thing that I always hear about Starbucks, because I actually don't go to Starbucks, I only go to local coffee shops, is that people are always getting their names misprinted on their cups or mispronounced when they go to pick up their drink when they're in the store. I hear it all the time. If your name's Megan, you're getting the wrong name written on the cup, right? All these crazy stories. And so there's a small coffee shop in Phoenix that takes a really awesome approach. And I don't even think it's in direct competition with the experience at Starbucks, but it's something that they do really, really well that creates an environment that is complete opposite of that experience you would get from a Starbucks. And the coffee shop is Haba Java. And if you haven't been there before, 32nd Street in Camelback, great shop, been there for a really long time. And I've gone and I've sat there and done work on my laptop before, and I've sat for a whole hour and I have heard the baristas, when the customer walks right up to the cashier, and there will be a line going to the back of the shop, they have memorized the name of every single returning customer that comes through the line. Hey Jane, hey Mark, hey Steve, how you doing? And I kid you not, I heard them for a whole hour repeat the names of every single person that walked up before they even had anything to say. And that is just a complete different experience than what those people might get if they were to walk into a Starbucks and have their name misspelled or mispronounced by somebody in that store. Again, this is just an opportunity, right? Think about the experience that you might have or that you have as a customer, as a consumer, or even as a client working with a non-local company. How sterile is it? How non-relational is it? What type of service is really lacking? And how can you, as a business in the community, counter that and provide an even better, more memorable experience that people will connect with and latch onto because they're getting that experience from other places, right? There's a great company in Flagstaff, Arizona, Homeco Lumber and Hardware. They've got everything the big boxes have. And I've talked to them before. You know what they do? Every month or so, their team will just go and walk through one of the big boxes. They'll walk through and see what's going on. And think about your experience when you walk into one of those big box hardware stores. I know my experience, hard to find someone, usually pretty dirty. And it's really hard to find what you're looking for. It's kind of, things are few and far between, and you're trying to find, somebody to help you, but they're busy with somebody else. That's been my experience in the past. Homeco alters that. Their store is spotless. It is the cleanest hardware store you will ever go into. Everything is very clearly marked, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. And then customer service through the roof. Best customer service you're ever going to get from any hardware store that I've ever been to. So again, thinking about what that non-local competition is doing can help you think creatively about how to deliver as your own business. One great thing to think about as a way to leverage your localness is through sports. You may not be a business that focuses on sports. You may not be a business that even knows who the players are on the current sports team, but this is something you can absolutely take advantage of. Everybody knows and everybody saw the Suns run through the playoffs this past year, and we saw a lot of great businesses take advantage of that. There are two businesses right here I just wanted to call out. One of them on the left here is Wrenhouse Brewing Company. They have a beer that they usually call Valley Beer, which is really popular. It's just one of their main beers. And the Suns had a hashtag through the playoffs called Rally the Valley. And so what they did is they just did a twist on the name of their Valley Beer and called it Rally Beer, with Suns colors and Suns themes and that kind of stuff. Put it out on social media, and those things flew off the shelves. They would put it up, and then in just a few hours, the beer would be gone. Just one way that this business capitalized on this market of people that were really excited about the Suns. Another business was very different. They were a small bakery called La Purissima in Central Phoenix. They started making conchas that had orange and purple designs, and then they started making t-shirts with the Suns on them. Again, doesn't matter what type of business you are. There are all these people out there that might love one thing that's local, right? Could be a sports team, could be, history, you name it. You can leverage in a really genuine way that market of people, even if your business has nothing to do with that particular thing. So there's lots of examples with this. And tomorrow you don't have to, become a sports bar to attract sports fans. You can do things in unique ways to drive customers through your door. Another really cool way that we highly recommend local businesses leverage their localness is through conversations, through podcasting and things like that. This is one example here of a member of Local First, David DiLorenzo with Bar and Restaurant Insurance. They launch their own podcast, and then what they do is they invite customers and clients on the podcast so that they can ask them about their business, make them feel special, and then they put it out on social media. A lot of businesses say, well, wouldn't this take a lot of time? Wouldn't this take a lot of investment? Doing it yourself, definitely, yeah. But there's lots of different resources out there to do these types of things. You can work with companies that have the setup already there. And there's a really unique way to putting out the story of those that you work with if you're working with clients rather than customers, consumers, that kind of thing, to help elevate and solidify your brand as a locally owned business, and help also tell the story of the businesses that you work with. So this is just another way to leverage your localness. Definitely isn't something you have to do, but it's just another idea that is really popular right now. And there's a lot of tools and resources and ways that you can do it yourself. Another example that we want to give is just making sure that your website is filled with all of the information that reminds people that you're a local business, reminds people of the community organization that you're connected to. This is an example, an older example of years ago of Community Tire Pros at the bottom here, Bookman's at the top. And these are just, ways that on their websites, even, before today, they have listed, here are the organizations that we're a part of. Here's how we're connected to the community. These are just simple ways that you can make sure that you're reminding people when they come to find you that you're connected to the community. This is another example of that. Keep It Cut, another great business, several locations throughout Greater Phoenix. They actually have a page on their website called Giving Back, and they list every business that they're a member of, that they've given back to, that they participate in fundraising campaigns with, just to let people know, right? And if you've never been to their hair cutting salon before, and maybe you're just browsing the website and you stumble upon this page, and who knows, maybe you went to Marcos Deniza High School, or your kid does, to know this business has contributed to that organization, to that school. It might mean something to you, right? So just thinking about these different types of ways to tell people how you're connected is really good. Again, might not convince somebody to go to your store, but it kind of supplements the experience that you provide and the service that you're providing in the community. Here's a statistic that you can use in training your team, and training your sales team, and training your customer service team how to talk about your business. We've had businesses take this statistic and put it on their receipts. We've had businesses take this statistic and blow it up on big banners and put it in their store. This is a really great way to drive home the economic message behind what happens when you spend money. This is motivating to a lot of people, to think about how much more money stays in your community when you support a local business. And so again, just a supplemental way that you can be driving home the message and reminding people that you're locally owned. Here's an example of something that we know that we've given to a lot of sales teams to put in their sales kits. If you're a company that bids on contracts and grants and things like that, and you're looking to remind the entity that's reviewing your application that you're locally owned, including statistics and information about how much more money stays in the local economy when something goes to a locally owned business, and that you're a local business that's here doing this service, can go a long way, can potentially influence the decision that they're going to make. So these are types of things that we have that we help businesses with. There's different ways to do this. Doesn't necessarily have to be a graphic. It could also just be a narrative that you write into your proposal. But again, doesn't have to just always be consumers. You could be a business to business service out there. And it's important that you're educating those that you might do business with that you're locally owned. But we always try to influence small businesses to know that you don't always have to be cheaper than the large businesses. You can be different. You can have different things happening. You can have better local focus. The best customer service that you ever have should be every time somebody walks in your door, right? Make sure your staff have the expertise that they need. Provide training to them if they need more expertise. Have a variety of products, or just be consistent with the products that you have, right? If I want to be a reliable customer, make sure that you're delivering the same experience every time. And I'll tell a story of one business that I continue to support, but could work on one thing a little in a small way. I always get cold brew when I go to a coffee shop. It's the only thing that I get. It's the only thing that I drink, and it's the only thing that tastes good to me as far as coffee goes. There's a coffee company that I love, very small business, but I would say about 50% of the time they don't have cold brew. I will drive there, I will ask for it, and it's either not brewed yet or it's not ready. Of course, always understand. I'll come back later. I might be on the outskirts there. I think that there's some people that if they had that many occurrences, they might not come back. And so it's important as a business that you deliver consistent experience so that your patrons and your customers know and can rely on what they're going to get when they come into your store. So just something to think about. You can go the extra mile. Again, that first example that I gave doesn't have to be you showing up on somebody's door with their groceries, but could be, you as the owner of the business, if somebody had a poor experience, reaching out to them personally, right? We all know that reviews online, people are more likely to give a negative than a positive review. If you do get that negative review or something like that, make sure you respond in a personal way as the owner of the company, and make sure that you're publicly displaying that well. And then offer products that big businesses don't have. A story here is that everybody that I know in my life knows that I love Arizona. And about 4 times over, I got this cutting board that I knew was from a big box store because I had seen it advertised online of Arizona. Very nice, very thoughtful gift. But I knew it was, probably made in China and shipped overseas. And there wasn't really a lot that was unique about it. Again, very nice gift. But I kind of knew where it was from and knew that it actually wasn't a locally crafted thing. Then somebody bought me a handcrafted wood cutting board of Arizona. And when they gave it to me, they included a card that told me the story of the business in Tucson, Arizona, that actually handcrafts wood into unique things for kitchens and houseware and stuff like that. All of a sudden that gift is like right through the roof. And so there's different things like that. If you're a retail shop, you can make sure you're offering products that are super unique, sharing the story of the businesses, of the products that you're offering, things like that. There's a lot of creativity, just to kind of curtail over to this, a lot of creativity that businesses can be thinking about. Making sure, not only that you're talking about being locally owned, but that you're offering a lot of unique ways for people to get connected to you. You can offer gift cards on your website to make sure people can patron you in diverse ways. Make sure you're using social media to let people support you, and we know people want to. Figure out easy ways to have people order delivery, do curbside pickup, payment options, all these things that are going to continue on. Run specials that outdo your local competition, right? Maybe it's you do free delivery within 5 miles or something of that nature. You can think of unique ways to outdo them. You can do, come meet the owner of the business, showcase products in your store, let people know who you are through social media. We've seen in the past year a lot of businesses doing virtual shopping tours, unique ways that consumers can shop with you, those types of things. So again, just some different examples. Local businesses can have good experiences both in person and online. On the left here, you have Kid Stops Toys and Books in Scottsdale that did virtual shopping tours. You've got Sweetest Season. There's a business in Tempe. They did even a quarantine collection, a special box of goodies that people could purchase through the pandemic when we were all staying at home. Chef Doug Robson over here was doing a great job of telling his story as a chef. So again, just reminding people, using the resources that are out there and ingraining home that you're different than those larger companies. So again, if you're not a brick and mortar, this is not irrelevant to you. You have a lot of things and a lot of ways to connect with people. You can tell your story and humanize yourself, be thinking ahead, run campaigns to support others. We had a real estate agent purchase gift cards to locally owned businesses and then go around and give them to their clients and remind them how much they're connected to the community and supporting the community. Supporting those on the front lines. You know, when the pandemic started, we had a lot of businesses step up and deliver food to nurses who were working in the hospitals and all of these things. So not just doing the act, but telling the story and letting people know that you're doing it is an important thing, and people want to hear about it. So we always encourage businesses to do that. We're here for you at Local First. If you want to talk about any ideas or have any questions about any of the things we talked about today, we just want to make sure that you're sharing your story, that you're supporting each other as small businesses, being on the lookout for new developments, for new resources, for new ways that you can leverage your localness as a company here in Arizona. And so just want to say thank you for everybody that's joined us today. Really grateful for your time. And I'm happy to answer any questions. If anybody has any, you can drop them into the Q&A box, and I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, hope everybody has a great day, and we will catch you on the next workshop from Local First. So thanks everybody for joining. I'll hang out here for just a minute in case anybody has any questions. All right, I'm not seeing anything come through, so thank you all for joining. Hope you have a great day.